Hello, and thanks for joining us as we tape another segment of Chicago Lawyer Magazine's Inside Out, an exploration of various aspects of the law from the unique perspective of our husband and wife team. He is David Susler, Associate General Counsel at National Material LP. She is Tina Martini, a partner at DLA Piper here in Chicago. I am the me, Andy Shaw, your host for these segments, and the CEO and president of the Better Government Association here in Chicago. The topic this month is style, and let me start by asking you to describe the components of style as they apply to your work as lawyers.
I'm happy to take that. I would say that style encapsulates a bunch of different things. I think sometimes people immediately go to personal branding, but I think that that's just a component of it. I think style goes to not only your demeanor, your appearance, and how you communicate with others, but it's really sort of how you tick and how you interface with people in different types of situations. Some people have an abrasive style, some people have a softer style. I think it's usually a component, it's something that you develop over time. I think it changes and it morphs depending on the different folks that you may work with and the mentors you have and the different types of clients you have, and the type of practice you've got. I mean, some people refer to a New York style versus a Chicago style versus a West Coast style.
You were looking at David. Is that the New York style?
No, when I look at David, I don't think of the New York style.
He's from Western Illinois.
I think of the Decatur style.
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot to add to that. I think the same thing. It's a lot about, it's the surface stuff, how you look, how you dress, but it really goes to how you interact with people, how you present yourself. Are you the more studious type? Are you more forward in your face type? The more genteel Central Illinois small town lawyer, or the in-your-face big city lawyer stereotype, so to speak.
Why is it important, if it is, why is it important to have your own style, or does it really matter? I mean, watching lawyers, watching legal shows, you see all kinds of styles, and you see success and failure with virtually every individual style. So why does it really matter to have your own style, whether you have your own style, if at the end of the day it's just important that you do your job well and represent your clients well?
Well, I'll go first.
Okay.
Sure. It is important for a lot of reasons. It is, Tina mentioned, some people may think of personal branding, and it's a component of it. It goes hand in hand. It's an element of your calling card. It's an element of your reputation. It's going to be an element that is considered as to whether or not somebody might retain you for a given matter. And your own style, it kind of tells the world who you are, how you conduct yourself. And if it's important that you're genuine. Your style has to be genuine to who you are, and that's an element of your success.
I would say that, to David's point, and we've talked about this and we've alluded to this a number of times throughout the history of this column, that we're in a legal market that's pretty much a flat legal market at this point, and you're talking about taking market share from other people, and I think style is an important part of what differentiates lawyers from one another. So I'm sure there are many fine lawyers out there, but just because you're a brilliant lawyer doesn't necessarily mean that your style aligns well with the particular style of an organization, or the style of the decision makers who have to work with you on a day-to-day basis. So I think it's a key differentiator in the market.
Yeah, and those are definitely things, for example, that I'll take into account when I'm deciding on who to retain as outside counsel, lawyer A, lawyer B. What is their style? What is the nature of the case we're working on? Who are the stakeholders in my company, and what are our goals with this given matter? And the style, we may want a different style depending on what the matter is. So it's important.
And how has your style, each of you take a crack at this, how has your style evolved over the years, if it has?
Well, I think it has. I think to a certain extent, I feel like I'm me, and I've always been who I am. But as a young lawyer, and I would guess this is true for most people, it's a little bit harder to let yourself shine. I start out observing other lawyers. How do other lawyers behave? How do they carry themselves? How do they interact with other lawyers? I want to learn their style. As I've grown older and more confident in my skills and ability as a lawyer, I'm more confident in letting my style shine through.
Yeah, I would say that, having joined this firm 20 years ago when I graduated law school, and it was a big firm then, that a lot of what I was hesitant about or apprehensive about was having heard that when people join big firms, you have to sort of blend in with everybody, that you can't really stand out, especially when you're a junior lawyer. You're looking for ways to fit in rather than stand out. And so it was, and at the time it was all business attire, so it was all suits all the time, pretty conservative. It was the mid-90s. And, so I blended in, worked with a lot of different people, and then just realized over time, between taking sort of different aspects of different folks that I had the good fortune of working with, coupled with the types of work that I like to do, coupled with the types of clients for whom I like to do the work, all of those things you sort of weave together, and they sort of fit together in terms of figuring out your style. And also, whether it's, boards you sit on, leadership type of roles you like to take, extracurriculars, all of those things sort of help you reflect to the world who you are, and also help to develop your style too.
Do you want to add anything, or are we out on this?
Well, I was just going to say, in terms of developing style, the nature, it can change also depending on what you do. In my style, I started out as a personal injury attorney, and I'm in court all the time. It's a much more adversarial day-to-day role, whereas being in-house, I'm working with business people most of the time. My role is much more of a counselor than an advocate or an opponent. So the style is my style of communication, for example, is much less adversarial with my colleagues than with my opponents. And just an example of how it might change in different roles, which is a good segue to next month.
Well, actually, I was going to say that the next month should be substance. Since we've talked about style, we should go from style to substance, but we're staying in the style world. David Susler, Tina Martini, thank you very much. This segment was, as we said, on style. Next month will not be on substance, as you might have thought if we're pairing things up, but it'll be an element of style, wearing different hats. Speaking figuratively, of course, not literally, the hats being the different roles lawyers play. So, this has been Chicago Lawyer Magazine's Inside Out. I'm your host, Andy Shaw. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll be back with another segment next month.